You are now listening to the podcast where authors inspire listeners to become authors, the Going North Podcast. I'm your host, certified self-leadership trainer, best-selling author, and book enthusiast, Dom Brightman. And you're going to be listening to a different author that will inspire you to join the business of immortality, known as authorship. Now let the fun begin. Today's episode is sponsored by the GoingNorthPodcast.com shop. It is going to help you have northbound direction to your own success. If you want a great inspirational quote like advance others to advance yourself, or today a reader, tomorrow a leader, heck, even some puns like pile on and always fully booked on your tote bag, mug, hoodie, heck, even a t-shirt, and many, many other items, head over to GoingNorthPodcast.com, click on the shop tab, and cop yourself some merchandise indeed. And that's GoingNorthPodcast.com/shop. And today on the Highlight Reel Builder for Authors, known as the Going North Podcast, we got another super special, awesome human for you today, my friends. That's right, indeed. And this wonderful lady right here, she is a doctor turned author, y'all. So we found another one. We haven't had one of these types since, I guess, Dr. Deborah Blaine, who decided to write sci-fi novels. But today's guest is different, y'all. That's right, indeed. Because today's wonderful guest, she's a mom as well as a wonderful wife and a singer, as well as a former award-winning pediatric gastroenterologist. So let's give it up for the amazing and beautiful, the wonderful Dr. Audrey Birnbaum. How you doing today, Audrey?
I'm doing great, Tom. Thank you so much for having me on your show.
My pleasure, indeed. Pleasure to have you. So, my goodness, as you know, introductions aren't allowed to be 79 years long, and I probably only covered, 79 seconds of what makes Audrey the amazing Audrey yourself. So, am I filling in any cavities I may have missed about you?
No, you covered most of the basics. Doctor, wife, mother, and writer. That's my new title till I decide to do something else.
So you will pick up underwater basket weaving next year.
I tried drawing a little bit, I figured I'm one of those people who thinks like, I imagine I could do anything. So I did try to fix an iPad once, but it didn't stick. You can't replacing the glass based on a YouTube video, I don't recommend it. I tried, but plumbing, I do good plumbing. But that's a lot like gastroenterology, so I figured I had the skills already. They were there. It's the same. It's the same thing.
When you think about it, it's kind of true.
Oh, it is true. It is true. I had a guy from Roto-Rooter come once to the house, and he was literally scoping my pipes with a camera. And I'm like, that's what I do, but you get paid more. It was odd. It was weird. But, but no, not complaining. Not complaining.
She's like, dang it, I should have been a plumber instead of a doctor. Could have so called myself Dr. Plumber.
Yeah, it's all good. It's all good.
But hey, ain't just about the liquid plumber, it's about the amazing artist. So my goodness, you got this magical book. But heck, even before that, what led you to the doctor field, especially gastroenterology? Like, was that something always on your radar from a young girl age of 12 or something?
You're so close. I think I was like 11-ish, and I actually was in my series of TV crushes. I had many of them. I could go back as far as Will from Lost in Space, which I was like around 5 or 6, and please, I'll say don't tell anyone, but I've just told everyone. So, and then, it was like, I could go, it was a very long list, but I think I got up to Alan Alda on MASH, and that stuck for a really long time. And I said, I'm going to be a cardiothoracic surgeon. And so I got like stuck in this, I'm going to be a doctor. And I went to a science high school. I went to Stuyvesant High School in New York City. And I realized I had roots of writing back then because I wrote for the school paper. And the first article I did was a survey of the students in my grade. And the survey was that 1/3 of the students were planning to be doctors. That's a lot of doctors. And so a lot of people were just sort of like tracked on that idea. And I think like had I gone to I'll say a normal college experience, I might have like veered away from that. But I decided after school to go right into a 6-year medical program. So I got very tracked. And, that just took me on a path, that there was no turning away from. So a lot of possibilities got closed off to me without regret. I mean, I did have a wonderful career, but the cardiothoracic surgery thing that went by the wayside because I started to go to the OR in medical school, and I started fainting in the OR in medical school. I was like, well, I don't think surgery is for me. But I really liked the idea of procedures. I just, couldn't do the 12-hour ones. So I stuck to the 1-hour ones like colonoscopy and endoscopy. And kids was a no-brainer. My heart goes to children. I have a child spirit. I'd like to believe I have a child space and body, but no longer. No, I'm just kidding about that. No, I really, my connection to children has been eternal. Just cut out for it.
That's what I'm talking about, indeed. But hey, ain't lying though. It's like, yeah, it's like she's been in, what was it, 30-year career, was it, in the
It was a
field?
35-year career, but I started very young. So I started finished medical school at 22. So that's when I started my career. And I ended it, in 2020, just before the pandemic. It was just by sheer coincidence. And, while I still had time I had a little life left in me for some of my creative impulses that were always there beforehand, but had really, taken a back seat, or I say they were on life support. The creativity, it was there. It was always there, but it was in limbo. And, and now it's at the forefront. But I had a wonderful career. It was a little hard to make the decision to leave because it's such a part of my identity. So I don't like to say I was a doctor. I still like to say I am a doctor, but and I still keep up, with medical things, but no longer practicing.
Oh, there we go. Hashtag good doctor. You love to see it. You'll love to see it, indeed. So, how was the transition like to finally decide to make your first book, this one, American Wolf? Because, if I'm not mistaken, in a way, it's kind of a tribute to your dad, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah, it is. This was a situation where I didn't say, "Oh, I think I'm going to write a book," or "I think I'm going to become an author," or "This has always been my dream." This was kind of a little bit of a different path. In 2018 was a year of unfortunate events. So I had just a whole bunch of things happen. I had identity theft. That was fun.
Oh, dang.
Lots of fun. And then I went on a ski trip with my family out west. And it was supposed to be great, and there was no snow because it's supposed to snow out west. That was the whole idea, but there was no snow. And then I took a tumble because I'm not a great skier, and I broke my leg in like, I think there were like crumbs left of my tibia, like literally crumbs. I don't know how
Ooh,
they put it together with like, crazy glue. And I came home in like,
ooh.
they flew me home broken, and I had to have firemen carry me up the stairs because I have 21 steps to my house. And then I had surgery, and then 5 days later, my father died. And I was like, it was just like, it was not a great year. And I kept thinking, oh my God, but I have 5 endoscopies tomorrow. How am I going to do that? Should I go in with my broken leg? Because that's how we roll in medicine a lot. Anyway, so my father died, and I went to his funeral with a cast and crutches, and I had to write this eulogy. And my father's sort of seminal events of his life were about escaping Nazi Germany. He was a Holocaust survivor, and you can't tell a story about your dad without including that. It's such a seminal part of his life. And so my sister and I are sitting there, and we're like, "What? Well, okay, yeah. When did he leave Germany? Oh, yeah, 1941. And where did he leave from? Was it Portugal? Was it Spain? Like, what boat was he on?" And we're like, we knew the stories, and yet we had somehow lost all the details. We'd stopped talking about it since we were children, and the details were gone. And we're embarrassed that how could we grow up with this? It's not like my dad didn't talk about it, he did. But there was this moment when it was sort of assumed we knew everything. And then I remember that, like, maybe 15 years earlier, my father had actually written down, he spent months typing out everything he remembered, but we hadn't, I don't think I ever read it. It was very detailed, it was very dry, and it was in my attic somewhere. So I dragged my sorry ass up, literally my ass, because I couldn't stand, up the stairs of my attic, slipped upstairs, and found this like dusty 350-page volume of work that he put down on paper when he was diagnosed with prostate cancer and he thought he was going to die. And I grabbed it and I read it, and I had enough material to make my eulogy speech. And then fast forward, at some point I said, wow, it's to my sister Nanette, he has an extraordinary story, because he didn't just escape Nazi Germany, but he had like an extraordinary tale of immigration, an extraordinary escape tale. He also went back to Germany as a spy for American intelligence in the middle of the Cold War. He was working in East Berlin. I mean, in East Germany, not East Berlin, in Potsdam, spying against the Russians. And this is a story too good to let go. First of all, I think all Holocaust stories should be told, because you have to tell personal stories for people to care. You can't just say X number million of people died, because it doesn't mean anything. But when you tell personal stories, people remember them. And, I think people have heard about concentration camp stories and everything, but not everybody has heard about what happens to survivors and how they're impacted. And, we're all impacted. Second generation survivors are impacted too. We were, not brought up normally, because my father was a survivor. So I said, one day, this story has to be told. And that was basically the roots of this. So it still took me like 2 years to figure out how to extricate myself from medicine gracefully on one leg. It's just hard to give up a career that I cherish so much, and without guilt, and figure out how to live with no income. And anyway, so that's basically how it happened. So my idea was not like I'm going to become an author. My idea was I have to tell my father's story, and I have to figure out how to write it, and write it well in a way that people could feel it. They can't just be like, oh, this happened, and then this happened, and this happened. No, they had to feel like they were in the movie. And that's what I set out to do. And that's my long story, because everyone likes long
Uh,
answers.
Ain't nothing wrong with a long answer. We encourage wiener dogs here. That's right, indeed. That's right, indeed. And so sorry for the loss of your dad. And my goodness, didn't know all that stuff happened. Well, I guess in a 3 week span before he passed away, sadly. My goodness, that's definitely rough. So sad to hear that indeed. So, my goodness, and good thing able to find all that information. So, it was probably the hardest part about putting the book together with all those notes that you found, because I'm pretty sure there were some things where it's like, man, I didn't even know this happened, because I've noticed a lot of some veterans, they kind of want to forget certain things, but it's a good thing your dad actually documented a lot of it.
Yeah, no, it was all, the documentation was all there. The hardest thing was, I think there were a couple of things that were hard. It was like, first of all, like, what's the voice? I wanted it to be in the first person because it was his story, but I was writing it. And to give it color and life, it had to be, in a way, it had to be my words, because his words didn't really give it the color and life. It just gave me the details. It gave me like, it was almost as if it was a blueprint, but I had to still decorate it or build it, in a way. And then I had to bring, again, I had to like bring the reader there as if you felt like you were there. I tried writing it in the present tense for a while, and I was like, it didn't really work to me. Like, this takes place in the 1930s and 40s. Present tense didn't work for me, like, as a reader. So there were a lot of iterations of this. It took me, a few years to write it. And, I had to give it dialogue. I had to make the characters feel rich and real. And that wasn't so hard for me because I knew my grandmother. I didn't know my grandfather, who died, before I was born, but I got a good sense of him from stories my father had told me, and from some of the antics. He's quite a character. I mean, all my family members were quite characters. They had their personality. I don't say disorders, but personality flukes, like all of us humans do. So it's a very human story, a very human drama. And I wanted to work that into the story because, again, it's not just a story of what happened. It's a family story, a family drama of like people who are living through this horror, this nightmare unfolding, and what they're trying to do to get out. So if you don't include the family part of it, of like how they're managing when they get here, when they don't speak the language, when they go from middle class to scrubbing pots at the bottom of a Harlem hospital, or making hair bands for a penny a piece. It's like, if you don't get the emotion behind that, it doesn't feel like anything, or the embarrassment of being, an immigrant who doesn't speak the language, who's put back, 3 years in school when you're going through puberty. Like, if you don't get the feeling of what that feels like, and this is after the horrors of almost being killed and being thrown out of your country and losing your citizenship and trying every which way to get out, and having your family separated and your relatives being murdered. So there's so many different pieces of this book, but you have to feel it. So I had to, yeah, give it that feeling that wasn't really there in his book. So I didn't know if I could do it because I'd never written. I don't say I've never written anything. I wrote a lot of things. I wrote chapters about acid reflux. I, I wrote articles about diarrhea. Uh, I pride myself in being able to spell diarrhea, which I feel most people cannot. No, I'm just kidding. I knew how to put words together. In other words, I knew how to put words together on a page, but and able to write like dramatic stories. You know, I mean, I didn't know that I could do it, and I think that I can say now, based on the way people have reviewed the book, and they say like, I can't put it down, or this should be a Spielberg movie, or this reads like Forrest Gump. Like, those are the kinds of critiques that really make me happy because, I don't know, I can't. Okay, I'm reading Love in the Time of Cholera right now, for my book club. And it's like the writing is just like, it's just amazing. It's like, oh my God, it's like it's glorious. It's like a work of art. And I can't say that I can write like that. I'd love to, but I can't say that. But if somebody says to me this reads like Forrest Gump, or this should be a Spielberg movie, then they're experiencing it in a way that's like, they're seeing it. It's emotional to them. They're feeling something. So like those reviews are great. I love them. I'll take them.
Yeah, she'll take them, hold them, and love them. That's right. Hey, that's right, indeed. That's right, indeed. So my goodness. So I guess since it's your expertise, that's the reflux and diarrhea. So is that a taste of what to expect from your next book? Is it going to be a continuation of American Wolf, or is it going to be something totally different? Because I
Well,
got
so
another
no,
book
so
in the
there's like,
works.
it's funny, I was work, and I used to tell my nurses, my medical assistants about my own life, my childhood. They used to say, you really should write a book. And I think one day I will write a book that's a continuation because of of a family story, because my upbringing was so different, and because my father was actually quite injured by the trauma of his early life experience, because that fear that develops when you have no stability, when you're the fear of losing everything, always really does change you fundamentally, especially because he was a child at the time, and it informed the way he raised us in a way that was not very functional. And uh, my sister and I are much more normal than let's just say, my husband always says to me, Audrey, you've turned out well. But the other half of the sentence is like, despite your parents, you've turned out well. It's remarkable. So it's like sort of an insult. It's a compliment wrapped up in an insult. But I already started writing another book, which is completely fictional. That's about It's an ensemble cast of people from all different walks of life and different ages and socioeconomic, statuses, who come together on a hiking trip in Europe, and with culture clashes and steamy romances and bad marriages and good marriages. So it's a little bit of an adventure story, but it's really more about personal, issues, relationships, people's thoughts and fears. The plot is very fun, but it's secondary to the insights, because I'm still, I think, driven by what makes people tick. And I think as a doctor, I had a wonderful window into families, parents, anxieties, ego. I mean, just interactions with people in just so many aspects of their lives at so many different ages. It's just a great way to observe people. Easy to work that in to my writing.
There you go. So, what did your doctor experience teach you most about humans?
What most about humans is that their intentions are good, that people, no matter how, if you say like, oh my God, he's crazy, it's which is not a pejorative word, they'd be like, you have to look at them compassionately and say, what's really driving them? Are they just really anxious? Are they just, a lot of times that's a big factor. Are they angry? Behavior is driven by something much deeper, but it's usually not malicious most of the time. I think if you can step back from what you're feeling when somebody behaves a certain way and say, what are they feeling? What's driving them? It's just easier to be more compassionate. And I think in your writing, like, you can be compassionate towards your characters. I found when I was writing American Wolf, one of the things, like, when my father was describing people, he did not describe them compassionately. And I felt like he had not resolved issues in his life. He never went to therapy. He wasn't of that generation, and he didn't resolve some of his old fears and angers. And his descriptions of people and things in his life felt like they carried some unresolved grievances, which is, and so one of the things I had to do was to take him back to the child that he was and see the people around him as they were, which was people with their own, again, fears, anxieties, issues, but view them compassionately, not judge them. As an author, I couldn't judge them, even though he as a person might have judged them. Does that sort of make sense? If you sort of follow what I mean?
Oh, yeah, it makes
Yeah,
perfect sense,
yeah,
especially around that era indeed, because the thing is, things, especially back then, were a lot more tolerated back then. And in a way, folks weren't as thin-skinned back then either, as opposed to today, where we're more aware of the words we say and how we describe people and how it can affect people. So yeah, it's just a different time. It's really a historical thing, really. So it's no surprise, really. Heck, even with my dad, who was also for the U.S. military, was in the paratroopers as DD-214. They
oh,
had him down as Negroid, and it's like, dude, I never
oh,
even heard that before until we found it a couple years before his death, and we're like, wow, what? Because so yeah, it's definitely understandable the words that folks would use back in the day. Now you'd be
yeah,
like,
it's
oh god,
contextualized. Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. So, what you learned about yourself through this whole process of putting out the first book, your first entry into the business of immortality?
I was immortal before, Dom. I don't know what you're talking about. So what did I learn?
Baby's blood. That's what you were doing this whole time. I knew you were a vampire. I knew she was looking
Exactly.
too damn good for a reason.
Oh, you got me. You got me. Well, the writing was joyous. It was the process of writing was I found there it was very like therapeutic. I'm a busy person. I'm always doing, and when I was writing, I was in what I guess they call it flow, where I'm like, I don't know where I am or where I'm sitting or what I'm doing. I'm just in this place of like, I guess like a meditation. And the only other time I ever felt that way was when I was teaching myself how to sketch, one of my many endeavors. that, and like all of a sudden there's this calm, which I just have never experienced in my life ever. Because in my family, being still was considered being idle, and being idle was frowned upon. Because the only time you could ever get away with like not in fact, the only time I could ever get away with like not working for my parents or not doing a chore was if I said I was like doing schoolwork, so like, but I mean, my parents never napped, we never rested, we never, sat around and watched sport. Like, I don't, we just, we're just always working, Dom, always. So here I was for the first time in my life. I guess writing, you could consider it working, but it didn't feel like work. It felt just like just pure pleasure. So that was wonderful. But then I finished writing and I was like, oh, I'm supposed to get this published. Like there's this goal. And so of course, didn't know anything about the process. I was very fortunate. I have a friend. She's a friend now, but she was a former parent of a patient of mine. And she was a published author, successful published author. And she gave me like some hints, very generous with her time. And she said, well, you kind of have to do this, you kind of have to do that. So I put out some query letters and to agents, and I got no responses whatsoever. So I was like, damn, I think I have a good book, but there's doesn't seem to be any interest. And the good thing about that was that I rejection and me don't, we're not good friends. Me and rejection, we don't get along that well. And so I put the book away and I was like, I don't know what to do. And some time passed and I actually pulled the book out and I made it better. So the rejection was good. It gave me time to work on it and take some areas that I thought the writing was a little weak. When I needed distance, pulled it out, rewrote some passages that I made it better. And then I decided that my subject matter, it's like Holocaust and World War II type literature, it's not the most popular topic right now. I mean, what's popular now, and we know, like if I was writing commercially, I would write YA, sci-fi. I mean, I think we know what certain topics that are popular at this moment in time that agents are looking for. I'm not going to be that kind of person. I'm going to write what moves me. So I decided to look for a publisher, like a niche publisher for this type of work. And so that was where I set my goals. So I went to a publisher who's Amsterdam Publishers. They're the publisher of Holocaust and World War II memoirs, and submitted it there. And I think I was on vacation in another country. I think I was in Croatia, and I got back a positive response that they were interested. So that's what I did. So I was crushed at the beginning, but I didn't give up. I kept going.
There we go. That's right. She kept going north, y'all. That's right, indeed. She kept on going north and then going east and then back further east, as in west in this case. That's right, indeed. In all the magical good directions, indeed. She came back polished and better than before. Because, yeah, rejection can suck, but it's like, hey, it makes you refined. It's like you get to come out as a brighter diamond. That's right, indeed. Get the blind people metaphorically. That's right, indeed. Because now she's got the shiny book and she's got another one on the way, indeed. So, my goodness. So, since you've been on quite a few interviews already, is there a question that you wish folks would ask you more often?
Is there a question I wish people would ask me more often? Oh, that's the hardest question anyone's asked me. People, I went on when I had a book talk recently, people asked me some interesting things just about the book itself that I didn't know. I put my mother on the stand. My mother's 88, just turned 88.
Sweet.
And they asked me, regarding the contents of the book itself, they asked when my mother first learned about my father's history in Germany. And I thought like, oh, I must know everything about my dad, right? Because I read his whole story, and I thought, okay, this is, she's gonna. And he talked about he wasn't shy about talking about the war, about Germany. Like some people are very reticent about it, and their lips are sealed. And so I thought, well, of course, the first thing he probably told her was like, oh, I was a Holocaust survivor, blah blah. But in fact, there was such anti-German sentiments at the time, this was the 50s, that he lied to her and told her that he learned German in the service. And he told her nothing. He didn't even tell her that he was of German birth. So that was really interesting. So I'm still learning about my parents' history. So that was that's not a question I wish people would ask me, but I just thought that was a kind of an interesting family tidbit that I didn't know about.
Ain't nothing wrong with that indeed. 'Cause yeah, that's the thing. It's like, hey, you think you may know your parents after being alive for so long, and it's like, oh, nope, you don't. They always hide stuff. It's like sometimes it takes a little digging. Sometimes you got to find the right shovel. Sometimes you need the gold shovel. The copper shovel ain't
No,
working no more.
I think everybody really should journal because we forget so much. I mean, as a writer, of course, it's of key importance, and then of course for our children. Um, and we were on a big family vacation this past week, celebrating my 60th and my mother's 88th. And my
Ah,
sons were with I have three kids, a daughter and two sons. And my middle son, I don't think I've seen him. He's 25. I don't think I've seen him pick up a book, since he read Harry Potter. And he was reading the book, and I was so happy because A, he was reading, and B, he was learning about my father's, his grandfather's history, and he really enjoyed it. And this is also again from a Holocaust perspective. I'm the second generation, but we're getting old too, and our children who are in their 20s, like they didn't hear it directly from the older generation. It was like there's not many left of the first generation survivors. So that feeling that I could pass this down now to my kids, that an actual physical book, that I saw him sitting there like this the whole vacation and finishing it, I was like, okay, I did a good thing. It's somebody read the story. So, you know, a young person.
ah, there you go. You Miss 6-year-old herself. Happy belated.
No, only on paper.
I mean, hey, on paper, 60 looks like 6 for the dyslexic folks, so you're A-okay.
There you go. Exactly. Exactly.
That's right indeed. She sucked her husband's blood too, y'all. That's right indeed. She's really a vampire. Protect your neck
For
if you
my
see
next
Dr.
book,
Audrey.
the vampire story, those stories, they never die. They're the best. I loved Interview with a Vampire. What a great book. Great book.
That's right indeed. Make sure you hold a mirror in front of her for some reason. Make sure she can see a reflection. If she doesn't, make her run for it. That's right indeed. Oh, stop. So my
There you go.
goodness, your fabulous book, American Wolf, from Nazi Refugee to American Spy. If that book were a food, what would it be and why?
Oh, it would be a buffet. It'd be an all-you-can-eat buffet because it has multi-generational, so there's all the courses in front of you, and it's rich. So when you feel so full when you're done because you've eaten so much from all the courses, and you're satisfied. You just feel satisfied. You're finished. So that's the best answer I could give you. It's an all-you-can-eat buffet full of everything that life and food could offer you.
Well, there you go, folks. All you can eat. That's right, indeed. And the good news is you can stay at this one all day. That's right, indeed. That's right, indeed. Or at least until you finish reading the book.
Yeah, yeah. So you read while you're eating, you know. Or is it a
As long
stew? Is it a stew with everything in it? It could be that. I don't know. That's a great question. No one's ever asked me that before.
Yeah, that's right indeed. Told you there were some trapdoors.
I wasn't ready for that.
Don't worry, half the folks aren't, but hey, you did great indeed. So we're coming down to the magical question that every guest gets to receive, and that is if you were to wake up tomorrow and you were 25 again, but you're still in the current year, what advice would you give to yourself?
Oh, can I be 20? Um, well, yes. Okay. The advice I give to myself is don't sweat the small stuff. That is probably advice I would give anybody at any age. And don't take it all so personally. When people behave in a certain way, it's not always about you, it's often about them. And so you have to, and it always feels like it's about you or it's personal. You got that email and you're like, oh my God, he acted that way because of you. And it's like, you're not the center of the universe. Everybody has their own lives and their own shit. And, so let things go. You act with grace. You behave the way you should choose to. And if somebody doesn't respond to you a certain way, that's on them. You do what you feel is right in the world. And as long as you can, look in the mirror or look at yourself and say, I think I did what I was supposed to. I behaved with grace, I behaved righteously. And you stand up, take responsibility for yourself and your actions. What everybody else does, that's on them. So I think that would be, yeah, I think that would be my advice to my younger self.
Yes, I'm talking about indeed. I'm talking about indeed. That's right. So, from the good doc, y'all. That's right, indeed. That's your prescription for the day, y'all.
That
Metaphorically.
is my prescription for today. Yeah, and drink more water. I would say drink more water because I think I have a kidney stone. It's my other advice to myself. Drink more.
Oh, that's gonna hurt like hell when that passes. Hopefully, it's not true.
Well, there's worse things.
Oh yeah, you had a broken leg before. That mess hurt like hell.
Oh, it's one of many fractures. I like to keep the orthopedics department in business. It's my goal in life.
Oh, there we go. That's right, indeed. Oh, there you go. Doctors helping doctors. You love to see.
Yeah, absolutely. We keep each other in business.
Oh, yeah. That's a that's a comedy waiting to happen right there. That'll probably be third book three for you. Doctors helping doctors. Ain't that
Yes,
a
I
fiction?
do. I have to say, I did add a lot of comedy in American Wolf. Yes, it is a Holocaust book, and a World War II book, but it is also it's a humorous book because again, we have a cast of very quirky characters. So, and I'm also like I tend to be a funny person. I don't know if your guests think I'm funny, but I do tend to be. I find humor in life events. So it is there in the book.
Here for a reason. That's right, indeed. We encourage humor. That's right, indeed. And we ain't just talking about ice cream good humor either. We're talking about the good laughing humor. That's right,
That's
indeed. The
good
humor.
humor. My husband, who's from Long Island, he thought the good humor truck was the good humor truck. Good humor. Because of the Long Island accents. The good humor truck is here. But hopefully he's not going to listen to this podcast because he would not be happy if I shared that. The good humor truck. Good humor. Like Long Island. Long Island. Good humor. But
uh,
I'm from Queens. I can't complain about accents. So I'm sure I sound like the nanny.
don't worry. It's all good. It's all good. Well, for those who need to cop some copies of your magical book and keep up with your journey, what's the best way for folks to do so, Dr. Audrey?
Well, my book, American Wolf, is available on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, Walmart, any independent bookstore. And if they would like to visit my website, which has a whole beautiful like page of graphics from the time and historical information, a blog for me, blah, blah, blah. It's audreybirnbaumauthor.com. And of course, I'm on social media, usually as Audrey Birnbaum Author. So I'd love to connect with anybody. And thank you so much for letting me yap, yap, yap. My favorite thing to do.
Oh, well, you're welcome back here anytime, indeed. That's right, indeed, because it's fun on the bun with you, indeed. So you heard that right, folks. Head over to good old Dr. Audrey's website, indeed. Copies of her magical book. Share it with your family, friends, cat, dog, penguin, heck, maybe even shared with the camel, with especially there's a cactus on top of the camel, y'all. So that way they can know about the American wolf, y'all. That's right, indeed. That's right, indeed. Actually, better yet, share with an actual wolf. That's right, indeed. That's right, indeed. Maybe go to one of them farms where they keep little wolves that can't stay in nature, and then be like, yeah, let's put this book next to one of these little pet wolves right here. There we go. Yeah, American wolf. Yep. All right. Bones complete. Yep. Let's do that. So yeah, folks, do all those things and more, and probably shoot Audrey a selfie of you doing that too if you want for bonus points. But before I open another rabbit hole of wonderful oddities, any party words before we close up shop?
Yes, actually, you just reminded me about. I'm circling back to your question. See, that half of my brain was thinking about what do people ask, and I take it for granted that people understand why the book is called American Wolf. But it's because it's such. I was suddenly was thinking when you asked, like, well, where can they find my book? I was like, well, when you look up American Wolf, suddenly you see all these books about the American wolf, and you're like, well, what the heck is this book called that for? So I will just tell people, my father's given name was Wolf. And he changed it to Jack when he got to this country because he was told if he didn't change it, he'd be made fun of mercilessly. And his changing his name was his effort to become an American. And that's why, and grappling with his identity as a German, as a Jew, as an American was such a big part of this whole story. It's a part of the whole narrative arc of the book. And so that's why it's called American Wolf. And that's a piece I always forget to tell people. That's why it's in the wolf section. So my father is the American wolf in this story. That is my parting comment.
If you're hearing this part of the episode, that means you're one cool individual. Thanks a bunch for tuning in, and if you enjoyed what you heard, be sure to share it with at least one other person in your network. Bonus points for 3. And be sure to check out the backlog too while you're at it, because there are hundreds of wonderful episodes to choose from as well.